High on a ridge in the Himalaya, a snow leopard moves through drifting snow, unaware, or perhaps entirely aware, that the sky behind it has begun to change color. The wind shifts first, then the light dims, then the temperature drops in a way that has nothing to do with nightfall. Its tracks continue across the slope, clean and deliberate, pressed into fresh powder. And then, without warning, they stop. No cave mouth, no burrow, no obvious ledge or overhang nearby, just snow, undisturbed, stretching in every direction. In a place where a blizzard can erase visibility within minutes and drop temperatures low enough to kill, one of the most elusive animals on Earth appears to have simply vanished into thin air. The only question is where it actually went. The danger isn't the cold alone. It's the combination: thin air, punishing wind, and a whiteout so complete that even animals built for these mountains can lose their bearings entirely. At these altitudes, the air already carries less oxygen than the body is used to, which makes generating heat through movement more costly than it would be at sea level. Add a blizzard on top of that, and the math gets worse fast. Strong wind strips heat from an exposed body far faster than still air does, making already freezing conditions significantly more dangerous. Within that wind, exposed skin and thin fur can lose warmth in a matter of minutes, which makes what's missing from this scene even stranger. A snow leopard is not built like a muskox or a yak, layered in bulk and insulation. It's lean, long-limbed, almost delicate in silhouette, an animal that looks like it belongs to gentler weather, not to a storm capable of turning deadly within an hour. And yet, somewhere on this mountain, it's already found a way through. The leopard wasn't caught off guard by what was coming. In fact, everything suggests it left long before the storm ever arrived. If the leopard sensed the approaching storm, the change may have been almost invisible to us. A shift in pace, a change of direction, nothing dramatic enough for a human observer to flag as unusual. But subtle shifts in air pressure, wind, temperature, or scent could provide environmental cues that we barely notice, and that an animal shaped by this terrain might read without even seeming to try. No one has fully explained how, or whether every individual responds this way, but it's a reasonable possibility that scent carried differently through cold, heavy air, or a change in the wind itself, gave this leopard something to react to long before the storm was visible on the horizon. This wasn't panic. There was no scrambling, no erratic doubling back. It was quiet, controlled repositioning, the behavior of something that already knew exactly where it needed to be and was simply running out of time to get there. Where the tracks disappeared wasn't random. Set into the ridge, tucked just out of the wind's direct path, is a shallow recess formed by an overhanging slab of rock, the kind of feature that would be easy for a human eye to walk past without a second glance. But for the leopard, it's not a hiding place, it's a calculated position. Unlike animals that dig dens or burrow into snowbanks, snow leopards rely on the mountain's own architecture. A leeward crevice like this one blocks the wind almost entirely, and without wind, the effective temperature rises dramatically, even if the air itself stays brutally cold. Finding a spot like this isn't luck. It requires an intimate, almost cartographic knowledge of terrain the leopard has likely crossed hundreds of times before. Every crevice, every wind shadow, already mapped by memory. The shelter solves one problem, but shelter alone doesn't keep an animal alive for hours inside a storm this severe. What happens to its body once it stops moving is a different question entirely. Wrapped tight against its own body, the leopard's tail does something far more important than balance right now. That tail, often the first thing people notice in photographs, thick and disproportionately long, can be curled around the body and drawn up over the nose and face, reducing how much bare skin is left exposed to the freezing air. Beneath the fur, the leopard is carrying something else most viewers never think about: an enlarged nasal cavity, structured to warm frigid air before it ever reaches the lungs. Breathing in air this cold, unfiltered, could damage delicate tissue with every inhale. This adaptation quietly solves that problem, breath after breath, hour after hour. And under the skin, a layer of fat built up over the previous weeks does double duty, insulating against the cold while also serving as a reserve of energy the leopard hasn't started drawing on yet. Every piece of this design assumes the same thing, that staying warm was never really the hardest part. Staying still would be. Curled into the rock's narrow shadow, the leopard is barely moving at all. Its breathing has slowed, its muscles have gone quiet. To an outside observer, this might look like sleep or simple exhaustion. It isn't. This stillness is a decision, and one the leopard is actively maintaining for as long as the storm demands. This isn't hibernation, which shuts an animal's body down for an entire season. It is simply a period of greatly reduced activity, conserving energy until conditions outside become safer, a state that can hold for as long as the danger does, whether that's hours or, in the worst storms, several days. Every hour spent, still, is an hour of reserves not yet spent, and those reserves are what the leopard will need most once the storm finally lifts. The wind eventually drops, the snow stops falling, but the silence that follows isn't relief, it's a new kind of problem. The blue sheep and ibex that make up most of a snow leopard's diet don't simply reappear once the storm clears. Many have already relocated to lower, more sheltered ground, leaving the higher slopes emptier than they were before the blizzard began. For an animal running low on the reserves it spent the storm protecting, this scarcity couldn't come at a worse moment. The mountain itself is buried, which makes tracking scent and movement harder than usual, right when finding a meal matters most. Surviving the blizzard, it turns out, was never the final challenge. It was simply the first of two. The second, finding enough to eat before its reserves run out entirely, is quieter, slower, and far less visible than the storm itself. But for the leopard, it may be just as dangerous. When a storm like this finally passes, a snow leopard sheltered somewhere along a ridge like this one can emerge into a landscape the blizzard has completely rebuilt. The snow settled, the sky clear, the wind gone still. Thinner now, it would move carefully, scanning the slopes below for any sign of movement, stepping back into the open close, to wherever it disappeared, as if the mountain had simply paused around it and then let it go. What looked, at the very beginning, like an animal swallowed by a storm was never a disappearance at all. It was a decision, made hours in advance, executed with precision, and sustained through nothing more dramatic than patience and stillness. The word most people use for this animal is elusive, as if it were simply lucky, or shy, or rarely seen by chance. But elusive was never really the right word. What the mountain hides isn't a mystery, it's a mastery, one built into every breath, every muscle, every choice this animal makes long before the storm ever arrives.